Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today I've got some CTE footage, that is community test environment for Battlefield 4. Finally, the terms of service has been updated and it's going to allow us to post on YouTube, so obviously here I am with some gameplay from this environment. And it is much more responsive. I've talked about this before, but I haven't really been able to show it. Obviously, it's going to look like a game of Battlefield. It's harder to show a video of it and say it feels so much better than actually get into the game and play it for yourself and see how it feels. But everything is much more responsive. Far less kill trades, far less dying behind walls. You'll get kill responses much sooner because technically the game should be updating its information approximately 3 times faster than it was before. So it's a much smoother, more responsive gameplay experience, and I hope DICE never drops below a 30 tick rate in any Battlefield game in the future. I think they've sort of demonstrated with BF4 that you can't really go much lower than that and still have a really snappy, enjoyable experience. And I'll even say that 30 tick rate isn't really fast enough for me personally. You know, in a competitive game, I would love to see higher than 30 tick rate. And I know Counter-Strike can go all the way up to 128 tick rate there. So just to give you guys an idea of what some of the top competitive games play at, Battlefield is nowhere near that level, but 30 provides a much more responsive and a much more enjoyable experience overall. Now, there's been some funny posts in the online forums for the CTE client. Some people are complaining that their KDR is going down and that they're doing worse in the CTE. And it's funny that they say that because I think a lot of really good players are actually in the CTE right now. I recognize a lot of names when I hop into a server because honestly there's only like 1 or 2 populated West Coast servers. So there's going to be a lot of players that really want to get into this, that really want to test the game, and people who are very dedicated to Battlefield 4. So you're going to be up against some stiff competition if you get into the CTE, and don't be surprised if you are getting killed a lot because you're going to be playing against good players. Just because you die a lot doesn't necessarily mean it's a netcode issue. Now, what I find interesting about playing CTE is it reminds me a lot of Battlefield 3. I just feel my movements, my playstyle, my reaction times have kind of regressed, or rather returned to my Battlefield 3 playstyle. And I think that at first when Battlefield 4 came out, I thought it was a more difficult game to play. I thought they had just changed up the engine enough that I had to sort of compensate for recoil better. Basically, when you're shooting at a target with the 10 hertz tick rate, it just seemed harder to get hit markers and a lot of your bullets just would not land on target. Now I'm feeling like a lot more of my shots are landing on target. I can get more kills per magazine, per gun. My twitch reflexes seem to be much more effective now, so I can whip around on a dime, take out somebody who's behind me, surprise me. In BF4, if somebody's behind you and they start shooting you, you often don't get the hit markers until you're already dead. So with this improved tick rate, I have a time to actually respond to people who are shooting me. And as much as I would like to say that Battlefield is 100% tactical and you should really anticipate everything that your enemy's doing and not get yourself into bad situations, it is in many ways just a reactionary game too. When you get shot or you hear bullets going past you, you can react and you can save yourself. This happens all the time in Battlefield 3, where you take a hit, you're able to figure out where it's coming from and get behind cover before your enemy's able to kill you, especially if their aim is not top notch or it's long range and they just can't land enough shots before you can get behind cover. This just happened all the time in BF3, and it's very hard to do it in BF4 just because of that delayed hit response and things just being buggy and slow. I'm not saying that CTE has fixed everything. There certainly are still deaths behind corners. There certainly are still kill trades, but it is on a much lower level, and the responsiveness of the game and the consistency of the game, that's kind of a big thing, is just feeling like I can consistently get shots on my targets when I want to, whereas in the current state of BF4, the vanilla version of BF4, I feel like it kind of fluctuates almost from game to game. Different servers are laggier than other servers, so you feel like you have to adjust your play style, and there's just a huge inconsistency overall. Now, because of the tick rate, my aim feels much more responsive, and I'm noticing that my actual aim just isn't that accurate anymore because I've sort of adapted to this sort of spray at the general mass of the enemy for BF4 netcode, and less aiming at the head and that sort of thing. And I used to aim for the head a lot more in BF3, and I used to be considerably more accurate. So now I've got to sort of update my gameplay style, sort of revert back to my BF3 tactics again in certain areas, and sort of adapt. I think there's a lot more you could do with more responsive netcode. You get your kill feed faster, you can play a little bit faster, a little bit more twitchy, and I'm not saying that twitchy style shooters are better necessarily, but the game is just designed to be played a little bit faster than it currently was with the old school netcode. So I'm enjoying it a lot more, and it feels like Battlefield 4 just got a nice big injection of BF3, and in my opinion that's a great thing, because BF3 honestly is probably my favorite Battlefield game that was ever made. I think I put more hours into that specific Battlefield game than any other BF games, and I just love it to death, and the fact that the netcode feels much more like BF3 netcode just makes me very happy. I also feel like I'm using a lot of the guns for the first time. I mean, in theory the recoil control is all the same, but you get more responsive hit markers. So before, maybe when you had a gun that had crazy recoil and you thought it was too hard to use, now you're getting a little bit more frequent updates, so you can micro adjust your recoil control, perhaps be better with some guns that you were not so good with before. So it's going to be very interesting using certain weapons, especially shotguns, which I think were probably affected most by the netcode, just because they are very twitchy weapons. They require a lot of accuracy. I know you think a shotgun, well, it's kind of a scatter shot weapon. You just have to hit in the general area to get hit markers, and that is true, but to get that one shot kill, generally speaking, you have to be center mass. So you do have to be fairly accurate with shotguns in a fast-paced, fast-moving environment, and that is where a 10 Hz tick rate just does not favor you at all. So I'm really looking forward to trying out shotguns once again once I unlock them in the CTE environment. So I know this really does just look like Battlefield 4 gameplay, maybe slightly more responsive gameplay. It's, again, very hard to tell on YouTube. We're only looking at the game in 30 frames per second anyway, so it's not going to be a massive, like, oh my god, look how much more snappy the game looks. You're really going to have to get in and play it for yourself to see the true effects from it. But I think the message that I want to get across in this video is hope. You know, we've been playing the game for what, 7 months now? More than 7 months, and I felt very down about BF4 and just the direction that everything was going. The devs trying to work on things, and every patch that they came out with never seemed to make anything better, and I always just felt bad, like there was no hope for Battlefield 4. It was never going to get fixed, and that all these problems were just going to get carried over into future Battlefield titles. And as much as part of me wants to sit here and say, what the hell took you so long, DICE? It's just been forever. You should have had this game working when it came out. I'm really just deep down happy that things are finally starting to go in a good direction. Now, of course, I got my fingers crossed right now because I don't want to jinx it, but I think things are going to get better as a whole. Hopefully the last 2 expansions of Battlefield 4 are going to be awesome, and any future Battlefield games using the Frostbite engine will hopefully not suffer from the same issues that we have seen in Battlefield 4. As always, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you get to play the CTE environment soon. I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap signing off.